Good afternoon, and welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. This program is sponsored by the Southwest TV Translator Association and supported by the Dolores County Broadcasting Network, as seen on DCTV Channel 32.1.
The News at Noon program is the best news in the Four Corners area. We deliver news pertinent to our area in a rich variety for the Four Corners region.
And with that said, I'm Kendra Cook and my co-host is Jerry Tope. And now for May 11th, 2016, here's the news. From the San Juan Record, construction crews recently completed work on a deer tunnel under Highway 191, approximately 3 miles south of Monticello. The work was completed in approximately 2 weeks in a project designed to decrease the number of deer hit on local highways. Nearly 500 deer were hit by vehicles in 2015 alone, according to information from the Utah Department of Transportation. That total includes the deer killed on Highway 191 between Peters Hill and Blanding and on Highway 491 between Monticello and the Utah-Colorado state line. A number of steps have taken place in recent years to decrease the number of deer killed, including an experimental system along the road that was triggered by the lights of oncoming vehicles. The efforts have been marginally effective, according to officials, and the toll of dead deer and damaged vehicles has continued to increase. When completed later this month, the latest project will result in 2 functional deer tunnels under Highway 191 between Monticello and Verdure, in addition to the installation of several miles of deer fence along both sides of the road. In theory, the deer will be funneled by the high fences towards the tunnels and thus avoid the highway. One of the tunnels in the project is completely new, while an existing tunnel approximately 7 feet tall will be used at the Montezuma Canyon turnoff near Bull Hollow. The project was helped along by a generous donation from the Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife. In 2014, they contributed $25,000 to the project, and that contribution was matched by $25,000 from San Juan County. In addition, the San Juan County Road Department has been involved in developing the project. The tunnel engineering was completed by Jones and DeMille Engineering, and Harwood and Rees secured the contract to do the work. Cost for the fencing depends on the topography of the area. In 2014, it was estimated that the cost of each mile of fencing is about $40,000, while the tunnels underneath the highway for migrating animals cost about $120,000 each. The project is viewed by road officials as a low-cost, high-return project.
From the Cortez Journal, the Navajo Nation's tribal president, Russell Begay, announced Monday he has created a task force headed by the tribe's telecommunication director and the director of the Department of Public Safety in reaction to concerns raised by the abduction and death of an 11-year-old girl by setting a 60-day goal for establishing a new tribal alert system to provide notifications of abductions and other emergencies. 8 hours passed between the initial missing persons report made the evening of May 2nd by the family of Ashlyn Mike to tribal police and the issuance early the morning of May 3rd of an Amber Alert by New Mexico State Police at the FBI's request. A search began the evening the girl was reported missing. Her body was found the next day. Tribal police have said the delay before the Amber Alert was issued stemmed from a lack of information on the abduction and the suspect and from the time it took to notify outside authorities. Rick Nez, the president of the Navajo's San Juan chapter, said, "If they would have put out an Amber Alert right away, I believe they might have saved her life." According to the affidavit, Ashlyn Mike and her 9-year-old brother were playing with a cousin near the road about a quarter of a mile from their home after being dropped off at their school bus stop. When Tom Begay, a 27-year-old Navajo man who lives in the general area where the girl's family lived, offered them a ride. Not wanting his sister to go alone, her brother jumped in too. Tom Begay has been arrested in the case and appeared before a federal magistrate on murder and kidnapping charges. Russell Begay said last week in a statement issued the day after the abduction that the tribe needs to implement an effective response system in which modern technology is utilized more effectively. He said Monday that tribal officials will consult with telephone companies and are testing a text message alert system.
From the Denver Business Journal, the Denver City Council will hear a proposal regulating short-term lodging rentals in Denver on May 16th, but industry interests are in stark opposition to the bill as it is currently written, which would limit short-term rental owners to renting out only their primary residences, not additional properties. Calling the proposed regulation onerous, Matt Curtis, Director of Government Relations for short-term rental marketplace HomeAway, Inc., said that if passed, the new regulations will drive the short-term rental business underground in Denver, while a more lenient regulation would enable such businesses licenses to operate legally and out in the open, registering with the city and paying taxes. The short-term rental industry has operated in Colorado for decades, but has gained popularity in recent years across the state and in Denver with the rise of online marketplaces like HomeAway, its subsidiary brand VRBO, and Airbnb. VRBO was founded in Aurora and in 2006 was acquired by HomeAway, which still has an office in Denver employing more than 60 people. HomeAway was acquired by Expedia Inc. in December. A study of VRBO users by DU earlier this year estimated that short-term rentals listed on that site bring in approximately $13.6 million in rents per year, and that visitors who stay in the units spend another $21.3 million beyond rent and transportation. Renting out properties for fewer than 30 days in residential zones has always been illegal in Denver, but the rule has generally not been enforced, according to Denver City Council member Mary Beth Sussman, who is the sponsor of the proposed bill, which would require that short-term rentals pay lodging tax while also legitimizing the practice of leasing out a property for less than a month, but only if that property is the owner's primary residence. The industry has no problem paying taxes, registering properties, and providing a point of contact for the property in case of emergency, Curtis said, but takes issue with the primary residence requirement, saying that it will drastically limit the industry in Denver, costing jobs and lost revenue. Instead, he said, the industry supports instituting a cap, such as one that would allow both a primary and secondary residency to be rented out. But Sussman said that such a cap would be too hard to enforce and stated her concerns about the impact of short-term rentals on the city's housing stock.
From the Durango Herald, about 16 homeschool students dressed in white lab coats learned the basics of power generation Monday at the Powerhouse Science Center in Durango. After the lesson, they built their own robots powered by AA batteries. It is a marked difference from 1 year ago, Monday, when the Powerhouse abruptly closed its doors, laid off 8 employees, and gave no indication of reopening. Lexi Stetson-Lee, Powerhouse administrator, said Monday, "We have some of the staff members back who are at the heart and soul of everything. We're moving forward in a good direction that is sized down but scaled appropriately for this community." The Powerhouse, which had an operating budget of $871,000 in 2015, closed for almost 4 months last year as a result of over-optimistic fundraising projections, a steep decline in grants, and a staff that had grown too large. Its operating budget is $425,000 this year. Board members and executive leaders made a tough decision to close to evaluate revenue streams, daily operations, and the organizational structure. The sudden closure came as a shock to donors and many of the nearly 30,000 people who visited or participated in programs during 2014 and 2015. Some of the nonprofit now believe the closure was unnecessary and an overreaction. The staff also had to combat rumors of embezzlement and financial mismanagement. Stetson-Lee said nothing like that had happened. Since then, the budget has been cut in half. The staff has shrunk from 14 full-time employees to 3 full-time employees, and a number of programs have been cut, including after-school activities, early education lessons, and in-school outreach efforts. The Powerhouse is open 6 days a week. It still offers field trips, and this summer will contract with teachers to offer summer camps. For more information, you can visit them online at powsci.org.
From the Denver Post, the 3 sons of a woman shot to death in 2014 have filed what appears to be the country's first wrongful death lawsuit against the recreational marijuana industry. The lawsuit claims that the company that made the marijuana edible and the store that sold the candy to Richard Kirk recklessly and purposefully failed to warn him about the bite-sized candy's potency and possible side effects, including hallucinations and other psychotic behaviors. Hours after Kirk purchased the marijuana candy, he allegedly shot and killed his wife. Kirk now faces 1 count of first-degree murder in his wife's death. This new lawsuit was filed on behalf of the children, now ages 9, 13, and 15, by Christine's parents, Wayne and Marty Conk, and her sister, Tamara Heyman. The family's attorneys said in a statement, edibles themselves are not the evil. It is the failure to warn, the failure to properly dose, the failure to tell the consumer how to safely use edibles. That is the evil. A partially eaten Karma Candy Orange Ginger candy was found, which contained 10 servings of THC, with each serving containing about 10 milligrams. Gaia's Garden LLC, the company that manufactured the chew, and Nutritional Elements, Inc., the store where Kirk bought the candy, are named as defendants in the complaint. According to the lawsuit, the companies failed to include warnings about known side effects on the candy's packages. The state has since changed the requirements for labels on edibles. The lawsuit says the two companies negligently, recklessly, and purposefully concealed vital dosage and labeling information from their actual and prospective purchasers, including Kirk, in order to make a profit. Sean McAllister, who represents Guy's Garden, said the wholesale company has always been in compliance with state requirements for labeling and packaging its products. We will vigorously defend ourselves against this attempt to shift responsibility away from the murderer to a substance that is less harmful than alcohol and does not lead to violence, McAllister said. In January 2015, those new regulations went into effect requiring edibles sold recreationally to be wrapped individually or demarked in increments of 10 or fewer milligrams of activated THC. While the new regulations will have little to do with claims in this lawsuit, the likelihood of winning is still low, according to Sam Kamen Vicente Sederberg, a professor of marijuana law and policy at the University of Denver, who said, "We don't hold liquor stores responsible, and we don't hold vodka producers responsible for drunk drivers." Kirk, the now 49-year-old, changed his plea from not guilty to not guilty by reason of insanity in September. He has since been ordered to have an evaluation at the Colorado Mental Health Institute at Pueblo. It's unclear if that evaluation has been completed. The lawsuit's claims contradict Denver prosecutors who have argued Kirk acted intentionally. They claim the financial and emotional strain on his marriage contributed to a conscious decision to kill his wife. Blood tests taken after the shooting revealed Kirk had a low level of THC in his system. No alcohol or other drugs, illegal or prescription, were detected. A toxicology report showed Kirk had 2.3 nanograms of THC per milliliter of blood the night of the shooting. The state's legal limit for stone driving is 5 nanograms of THC per milliliter. Reports from defense witnesses, including a psychiatrist, psychologist, toxicologist, and an expert on the effects of marijuana, show that defense attorneys are poised to argue that Kirk did not have the mental capacity to plan or kill his wife. When considered together, the reports could suggest the THC in Kirk's system may have contributed to or triggered a psychotic break. As a result of their mother's death, Christine Kirk's sons have suffered non-economic damages such as emotional suffering. The lawsuit also claims they have suffered economic damages. And now, let's take a look at the weather.
Today, as you've seen, there will be lingering clouds, showers and storms near the divide over the southern mountains, but all of that will clear away by sunset today. Drier air will move in through the night, and Thursday we'll see the high temperature pressure ridge set up. This ridge with its calm pattern will remain until Sunday. Then a storm headed into the Pacific Northwest will have arrived here in our forecast region. Winds will be quiet and mild until Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon as the systems begin to change places. That will unsettle conditions and include clouds and showers from Sunday into Tuesday. A strong low-pressure system in our national map over the north and center of the country, and a cold front that's been tagging along with it will cover from the desert southwest through Texas to the Ohio Valley and will produce some severe storms and localized flash flooding. There is what's being called an occluded surface low over North Dakota that will slowly move northeastward into southern Canada. The northeast U.S. is under a surface high centered in Canada, and this is currently a stable system just hanging around. And so from the eastern Ohio Valley to the mid-Atlantic coast, we'll continue to have humid and warm conditions with temps in the 80s and near 90s in the deep south and southeast as well. In our 5-day forecast, temperatures will be climbing tomorrow into the low 70s, then around 80 for Friday and Saturday. Then Sunday and Monday will cool down a bit into the lower 70s. Thursday night is supposed to be a fraction above freeze, and then lower 40s through Sunday night, with Monday night expecting the upper 30s. And now back to the news.
From the Durango Herald, students from Colorado should plan for an 8.6% tuition increase at Fort Lewis College when the fall semester begins, while non-resident tuition will remain the same for the 7th year in a row. The increase would amount to $504 annually for a full-time student. While it won't be official until the FLC Board of Trustees meets June 3rd, all the trustees involved in a budget teleconference Tuesday morning endorsed the increase. Their endorsements came after more than an hour of discussion about the flat non-resident tuition recommendation by qualify staff. Because most, if not all, of the other public four-year institutions in Colorado are also expected to raise tuition to the level allowed in the state budget, Fort Lewis will continue to be the second least expensive school for residents. This, according to Michelle Peterson, Associate Vice President of Finance and Administration. Maintaining the non-resident tuition rate isn't because Fort Lewis is concerned about price sensitivity. The college has the lowest out-of-state tuition and fees of any public four-year college in the state, just over $17,800. Most other colleges are in the $19,000 to $21,000 range, with the University of Colorado Boulder at $34,000. At issue is the Native American tuition waiver. The state reimburses the college for those students who qualify, and about half of the out-of-state students are Native Americans. The cost to the state has been steadily increasing, up about $1 million this year and projected to increase another $1 million next year as that population continues to grow at the school. Trustee Tom Schilling said, "Long term, we just can't keep avoiding the non-resident tuition increase." The trustees approved room and board increases at their February meeting, leading to a one-year total cost change of 4.2% for the 1,400 or so students, primarily freshmen, who live on campus. Student fees will remain the same for the 2016-17 year, but student government is expected to request an increase for the next year when its contract with Durango Transit expires. Fee increases for some individual courses, most notably art and science, were approved previously.
NASA Astrophysics Director Paul Hertz said yesterday that we know now that exoplanets are common and a reasonable fraction of the stars in our galaxy have potentially habitable planets. Kepler satellite data revealed by Kepler mission scientist Natalie Badala suggests that 25% of all normal main sequence stars in the Milky Way have roughly Earth-sized planets in their habitable zones. Natalie says there are at least 70 billion of these stars in the galaxy. That would mean about 1.75 billion stars probably have an Earth-like planet in their system. Kepler's $600 million mission was launched in March of 2009. In its first mission, Kepler discovered about 5,000 exoplanets. In this latest mission, 4,000 candidates were found in habitable zones, and follow-up work was necessary to confirm these. So at this time, over half have been confirmed based on computer simulations and probability studies that require a 99% chance of being an exoplanet for a validation. Kepler has discovered 1,284 new exoplanets, and so far this is the largest number revealed at one time. The total is now at 3,200, and Kepler has given about two-thirds of those at 2,235. 707 were found to be probable imposters. Out of all this, the total number of Earth-like planets confirmed as inhabitable zones is at 21 now. There are 15 or so more still waiting final results. Overall, Kepler has looked at more than 10,000 planet-like objects in several different missions. Kepler is about 75 million miles from home. Reminds me of an old country song, about 500 miles away from home. If Kepler could sing, what would it sing about? It takes about 13 minutes for signals to round trip with the satellite. Kepler's team of operators has overcome at least two major problems during its life so far and kept this mission progressing.
From the Cortez Journal, farmers with the Dolores Project get on-demand pressurized irrigation water delivered to the edge of their fields. 5 automated high-tech pumping stations do the heavy lifting of pulling water from canals and pushing it through pipes to farms. Another pump system at the Great Cut Dike pulls water from McPhee Reservoir into the Dove Creek Canal and onto the pumping stations. The Dolores Water Conservancy District and the Bureau of Reclamation have teamed up for $8 million worth of upgrades for the 20-year-old pumping stations. The 4-year plan includes upgrading the Electronic Communication Control System, or SCADA, which operates irrigation deliveries from a main control room. So far, 3 out of 6 pumping plants have been overhauled: Fairview, Pleasant View, and Ruin Canyon. Next on the list are Dove Creek, Cajon, the Great Cut Dike, and the SCADA system. Final upgrades will begin after irrigation season and be completed over the next 2 years. Water officials and engineers touted the upgrades during a public tour last week of the Pleasant View pump station. At Ruin Canyon, 2 pumps were rebuilt and 2 variable speed electric motors were replaced. The The electronic drive systems were also replaced. The same upgrade occurred at the Ruined Canyon pump station, with a total cost for both upgrades of $1.25 million. The variable speed pumps adjust to irrigation demand. As the pressure fluctuates, the electronic drive system directs the pumps to adjust and keep the pressure steady. The drive system automatically turns on other static pumps as demand requires.
And now the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of May 2nd through May 8th. A deputy did motorist assist for a vehicle broken down on Highway 491, and a manhole was reportedly removed in town. The cover's gone. 2 fallen trees that were blocking Highway 145 were referred to CDOT. A county resident reported his vehicle being hit by a paintball in Cajon. A deputy is investigating. A herd of cattle on 491 was referred to San Juan County, Utah, after it was determined to be in their jurisdiction. A driver reported a group of juveniles throwing rocks at vehicles on Highway 491 as they drove through Cajon. Their parents were notified. That's it for this week's Roundup. Stay tuned next week for more updates.
And in today's High Country happenings, started on May 5th, the weekly behind-the-scenes tours of the curation facility begin and continue every Thursday at 2 p.m. through October 2016. Exploring the exhibits at the BLM Anasazi Heritage Center is a treat, but going beyond the exhibit space and exploring collections areas where nearly 4 million artifacts are housed is an experience offered each summer for visitors. Bridget Ambler, Anasazi Heritage Center's supervisory museum curator, said the Anasazi Heritage Center archives documents the prehistory and the history of southwestern Colorado and neighboring states. Visitors will experience a rare glimpse into the museum's collections, including pottery, chipped stone, textiles, photographs, and other objects the BLM preserves for the American public. The tours are popular and participants must be 12 or older. To reserve a tour space, please call 970-882-5613. Friday, May 13th, there's a spaghetti dinner and pie auction for Linda Gardner. It will be held starting at 6 p.m. at the Lewis Areola Community Center. Cost is $5 per person, sponsored by the Lewis Areola Volunteer Fire Department, community, and friends. Details and donations, call 970-529-3822. Saturday, May 14th, the Cortez Elks Lodge on North Dolores Road is hosting a free health, safety, and wellness information and awareness fair from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. For more information or an application, contact Lynn at 565-7423 or mlg65@netzero.com. Vendor tables are free. Also on May 14th, the annual benefit golf tournament will be held at the Conquistador Golf Course in Cortez. Registration at 11 a.m., lunch at noon, and shotgun start at 1 p.m. Entry fee is $40 per person, including lunch and prizes. This benefits the Hospice of Montezuma. To register, call Micah at 970-565-9208. And for my end note, reported by Denver's Channel 9 News, there was a goose that decided to make the Denver City and County building her home and nesting area last month on 4/20 of this year. They had decided to let it stay in the cement planter pot where she has since laid her eggs. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock put a poll on Twitter asking his followers to vote on a name for the mother goose. The options were Mother Goose, Goosey McGooseface, Ryan and the Goslings, and Behonke. Well, she officially has a name, and you guessed it, it's Goosey McGooseface, naturally. We have yet to officiate the name of the DCTV gnome, and concerns have cropped up this week that it has apparently gone missing from its last known resting place. Have you spotted the gnome on the run? We'll keep an eye out, and so should you. All of these details are listed on our Facebook page, and please send your event info to dcbnnews@gmail.com or call us at the station 677-4119. Again, thanks for tuning in. This program is aired live at noon and rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m. on Channel 32.1 Dolores County and on Channel 30.4 in Montezuma County and their cable Channel 5.
You can also rewatch the news on YouTube. Search for the DCTV News at Noon channel.
So for Jerry Tope and all those working to bring you DCTV and the News at Noon program from Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kendra Cook. See you next time.